My name's Joseph Carter, and I am the Mink Man.
When I was a senior in high school, I started learning about the American mink. I was told that mink were horrible, vicious little animals who were impossible to tame. Challenge accepted. I've been in love with mink ever since. I get mink from fur farms and give them a new life. In this new life, my mink live as naturally as possible, even hunting for their dinner the way a wild mink would.
So come join me on my adventures as we learn more about this intense little predator, the amazing American mink.
This is after birthday boy.
Happy birthday. How old are you now? 10? You want to see a mink? Come on. What do you think? Have you ever seen a mink before?
Not in life.
No, not in real life. Where have you seen a mink before?
Pictures.
In pictures? Cool. So what makes you like mink?
They're super cute.
They're cute? So you can see a little crayfish swimming. See him swimming in there? See, there's one, there's a bunch. You see them all moving everywhere?
Lobster.
Little crayfish.
Looks like they go backwards instead of forward.
Yep, they swim backwards instead of forwards. They can only walk forward. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get Boone, we're going to put him in here. He's going to swim around and try and catch a crayfish. Whenever he catches a crayfish, we're going to give him some of this. What do you think this is? Meat? What kind of meat do you think it is?
Rabbit.
Rabbit? I don't think there's any rabbit in it. It's mostly muskrat and a little bit of brown rat. Maybe a little chicken, maybe a little duck. But it's mostly muskrat and brown rat. And it's all ground up. This is Mr. Boone. He's all ready for chasing some crayfish. Okay, so this is my very special mink named Boone. I have his mom, his grandpa, his grandma, his dad. So I've had him for a couple generations. He's my favorite little mink. There he goes. Oh, he's chasing one. Oh, there he goes. He's chasing it again. Oh, he got in the crack.
One in the crack right here.
Yeah, they keep going in the cracks.
Yeah. Oh, he's gonna get it.
Oh, he got it.
But still alive.
Yeah, he doesn't grab them very hard. It's a big giant crayfish. Yeah, he just kind of mouths them. So a list of stuff that mink catch in the wild. pretty much anything that they live near that's the right size. So they catch crayfish, obviously, fish, frogs. I'm sure they probably get turtles on occasion, little small turtles. And then on land, they catch mice or any mouse-sized rodent, rat-sized rodent, squirrel-sized rodent. Obviously, like you said, rabbits. So pretty much anything. Oh, snakes, they eat snakes. If they run into a lizard, I'm sure they'd eat a lizard. Whatever lives around them pretty much that's small enough for them to catch. Oh, and then birds, they'll catch ducks and pheasants and coots and geese and herons and swans, kind of those birds around the water. Every now and then they'll get lucky and catch maybe a pigeon or something, but they got to get lucky for that. Maybe a quail. Quail's probably more realistic than a pigeon.
How long does it take to train them? Like, you take them places, so they obviously don't run away from
Oh,
when they
yeah.
come back.
So the basic, like, teaching them to come back is pretty easy usually. Doesn't mean they'll be consistent about it very easily, but just teaching the concepts probably like a couple of weeks. But teaching them to bring what they catch back to you, that could take a lifetime. I mean, of the mink, not mine. But like Boone, he's been working on it for a year, and he's pretty good at it. But he needs some improvement. So that you saw Boone, he's pretty nice to me. But even with you guys having bare ankles, he'll grab you. If you spend much time around a mink, you're gonna get bit. That's just how it goes. You gotta be prepared for it and just plan on it. Try and avoid it, but it's gonna happen.
How long do they live?
Oh, it depends. So in the wild, mink are typically,
Well, they live around 12 years.
yeah, if they're really, really lucky, they can live up to 12 years. That's probably about their maximum is 12. More realistic's like 6, 7 maybe. Even 7's a little old. Like 5 or 6 is more realistic. In the wild, though, very rarely do they make it past 4. Like 3 or 4 is like their max. And of course, the reality is most mink die their first year. That's how all animals are mostly, generally speaking. Most animals die their first year. And then the ones who survive, they might die the next year, or they might live till 3 or 4. But 3 or 4 is about the longest. That is more typical. I'm sure, I had a friend who had one that was like 10 or something like that, 11. Longest I've had one is 7, 8 maybe years. But so I'm sure it's possible to find one in the wild that lived that long. But I mean, it's just you'd have to go through thousands of mink probably. They've never recorded one that old, but they physically can live that old. So I'm sure it's happened at some point. Coyotes, for example, they're usually dead by 4 or 5. But there was one in Illinois that they had alive, I think it was 12 years old. Don't quote me on that, it might have been like 8. But it was more than double the typical lifespan. So I mean, weird things happen. Weird things happen. Mink live pretty much in any state except for like the real deserty ones. Like I doubt there's any in Nevada, for example. I have no idea if there's any in Arizona. But like everywhere else that has water, so Utah, Idaho, all the way up to Alaska and all the way down to Florida, pretty much every state. Like I said, I bet you Nevada probably doesn't have any. Like New Mexico, I don't know, New Mexico might. But anyway, basically if they have enough water, they've got mink. It's generally the rule. Now, locally speaking, where you'd find them, they're all along the Jordan River, not in very good numbers except for near the Utah Lake. And then when you get up in the mountains, there's pretty good numbers of them. Pretty much any little mountain stream probably has a mink every half mile to a mile, or more frequently. All over up in the mountains. And those little mountain streams they really thrive in.
So they just live in a burrow? Or?
Yeah, so
they will either kill rabbits and live in that burrow or live in a abandoned burrow.
Exactly. They don't typically dig a burrow. I have seen one mink dig a burrow. Or 2, I guess, but it's just not common. And usually if they're digging a burrow, it's somewhere that's already kind of started and real easy dirt. Alright, so they usually, there's like a natural cavity and some roots and they kind of hollow it out a little better. Kind of the same like raccoons. They don't typically like full on burrow, but they'll like maybe improve a place. So most mink, if there's a muskrat in it, or if there's a population of muskrats where they live, most mink live in a muskrat den. Because they're right in the right places where they want to be anyway. They're just the right size. They're ideal. But, you know, they'll also live in like a groundhog den or ground squirrel den or a natural cavity or pile of debris, things like that. But if there's muskrat dens, if there's a muskrat population, I should say, the overwhelming majority of mink will live in those muskrat dens. Especially if they're having babies or living in a den a little more permanently. They're pretty, once their babies get old enough to follow the mom, they're pretty transient. So they'll have some favorite dens, but it's like multiple dens. So they'll just kind of do this little loop through their territory. Except for when they have babies, then they stick to a den until they all get raised up. Mink are a strange animal. They behave very differently in captivity than they do in nature. So in nature, they're highly, highly territorial and they don't have friends. They just, as far as we know anyway, obviously there's lots we don't know, but as far as we can tell, they will just kill any other mink they see. Now, is it possible maybe they actually like have relationships with their neighbors and they're just attacking strange mink that come through their area? Maybe, we don't know. But as far as they can record, 2 adult mink don't interact unless it's breeding season or they're trying to kill the other one. Like that's our current knowledge. But the strange thing is, in captivity, if you raise one from a little baby, that like Boone, he's bonded to me. But anyone else, he'll bite. He'll go out of his way to bite you. If you guys were all in there watching, he probably would have gone and bit each one of your ankles. For no reason. He has no reason to bite you. He's just a jerk that way. And most mink are jerks that way. Some are very vicious. Others are just a casual, just hit you and leave, you know. He's a hit you and leave. You probably wouldn't believe you just get a little bruise. But other mink will get you really bad. But why they're like that, I don't know. Like, why does he bond to me? Why doesn't he just grow up? Because, I mean, in nature, he wouldn't just hang out with his mom forever. He'd eventually, his mom would kick him out, and, you know, they'd be enemies eventually. So, and his siblings and everything. So why does he form a bond with, and it's normal, it's not just like he's a fluke. Why do they form a bond with one, maybe 2 people? Yeah. But they'll do that for the rest of their life. The other weird thing they'll do is they home. Not perfectly, and not every mink, but like they don't have a set den when they are in the wild. They'll go den in lots of places. But when you lose a mink, it's pretty common for them to make their way back home. If possible, if it's reasonable. If I lost him over on the Utah Lake, he's not gonna find his way back home. But like, if I was out hunting along this canal, maybe even a mile down the road, and he got lost, he'd probably end up back home. Sometimes before you even get home, it's there already. And it's, like I said, it's not a solid thing you can rely on. You couldn't realistically release a mink and just have it come home all the time. But when they're used to coming home, it's pretty common you lose a mink. I mean, I had one mink I lost well over half a dozen times. I always ended up back at home. One time I lost her for almost a month, and I found her right by her cage, and we kept finding dead rats around. We're like, what are these dead rats? One of them was clearly killed by a mink. I'm like, this has been killed by a mink, what the heck? But I didn't even imagine she was still around. It had been like a month. Little wasp. But for some reason, she came home, and presumably multiple times, because we'd find her dead kills around the place. Finally, one day we found her, got her, put her back in the cage. I mean, they're kind of funny that way. But then other times, a mink gets out and you'll never see it again. So I mean, like I said, it's not consistent. Certain individuals, they definitely do it more often than others.
So do they have litters, or is it just like one?
Yeah, they typically, so ranch mink, so these are all ranch mink. They're bred to have bigger litters. So anywhere from like 6 to 8 is pretty normal for them. In the wild, it's more like 4 to 6. 6 might even be a bit of a stretch, more like 4 to 5, 3 to 5. But the ranch ones are bred to have bigger litters. So they'll have, 6 to 8, but they could have as many as 10.
Thanks for taking time to do this. It's awesome.
Yeah, glad it worked out. Hope you had fun. You're welcome. Hope you had a happy birthday and it was good fun for you. Do you want to see anything else? You want to see the lizard? I've got Raptor. Do you know who he is? No? You interested in seeing that? Okay. Let's go show you the lizard. So does anyone know what this is?
A lizard?
It's a lizard. Good job. Any idea what family of lizard it comes from?
Nope.
It's what's called a monitor lizard. Oh, great. He's hungry and I smell like meat. Uh-oh.
It's not.
I didn't think he'd be hungry. I just fed him. Well, maybe I'll go get him some meat too. Hold on a second, guys. Let's get him a chunk of meat here. Come on, Raptor.
Easy.
Oh,
He's jumping. He can jump.
yeah, he's hungry.
Wow.
Let's get him another chunk here. Come on, bud. Come on up here.
What
Come
is
on.
it? It's us. Aww.
I'm trying to get up here.
Walking with you, sorry.
Oh my god. Did you see it?
Pour down.
Don't pour.
How old's the lizard?
He'll be 2 in October, I believe. Yeah, October. Oh, no, don't eat my thumb. There you go.
Big bites.
You want another piece?
I bet you it's saying.
Do you like it? Is it cool?
Yeah, I don't know.
Can you get that? There you go. Good job. Good job, Mr. Raptor. Or Miss Raptor, I should say. Still not positive on that, but
Yeah, how positive are you?
no, I'm not at all. But he or she is not developing into a male-looking specimen,
Right.
and the growth has slowed down enough that I think it's a female. Well, not just me. Other people
Right.
have been saying that. Not like I really know what I'm talking about. Alrighty, buddy. You want to go back in? There you go. I've got a video hunting with Raptor. Got a couple videos of it. She catches mice. Obviously, she's not big enough for a rat yet, so. But we've got a couple different videos of Raptor catching mice. Pretty cool, huh?
Check that out.
Does anyone? I guess I didn't give you a chance. Does anyone want to pet him or her? Pet Raptor? Okay.
Yes.
Just don't get near her head. Just pet near her back or her tail.
This.
Just right on his back like that.
Take a couple little fingers. There you go.
Oh, that's weird.
Right?
So can Raptor get from the bottom of the cage all the way up to the
Yep.
top?
Did you guys have fun?
I think so.
Had a unique birthday? Huh?
Surprise.
Birthday boy? Now, if you're really wanting to dive into mink and learn the nitty-gritty details, I would strongly recommend you read my book, The New Sport of Minkenry. If you would like to support us, you can buy a shirt or hat, or consider becoming one of my faithful patrons. Just go to the links in the description below.